everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Glen Kuiper Show here on my YouTube channel. As Game 4 of the ALCS has just ended, and so we got a series in that one. Not so much in the NLCS, but postseason baseball is great, and that's what we are going to talk about tonight. And looking forward to it. See what you guys feel about it. I want your comments tonight on both these series that are going on. And as always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But let's get this thing going, starting with Game 4 ALCS. It's a final score as the Toronto Blue Jays storm back and tie up the series. They win tonight 8-2 after winning last night 13-4. So think about that. They lose the first two games of the series to the Blue Jays at home. If you're the Seattle Mariners, it was perfect. It was perfect. You win the first two games of the series on the road, and you come home to a raucous crowd, great fans up in Seattle, great ballpark. It's very, very loud there. You are feeling good. 48 hours later, you get blown out twice. Last night, 13-4. Tonight, 8-2. All of a sudden, the Blue Jays look like world beaters, and we have a series in the ALCS. It is now tied at 2 games apiece. So this is good stuff. We'll talk about the Dodgers and the Brewers after we kind of dissect the ALCS so far. But I'm excited now because now you have yourself a series. And if you're the Blue Jays, you know you're going to go home. You may be up 3-2. You may be down 3-2, but you know for sure that you will once again play in front of your home fans for definitely Game 6 and maybe a Game 7. So this is turning out to be quite a series. I think you got to start tonight with Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer, we know he's a Hall of Famer. He's had a wonderful career. Was not great this year. He had an ERA a little over 5. Made 17 starts for the Blue Jays. So you see that, and you're like, boy, man, but he was great. Let's give Max Scherzer credit. 5 2/3 innings tonight. He gave up just 3 hits, a run. He had 5 strikeouts. His breaking ball was outstanding. Man, it was sharp. It looked like the Max Scherzer from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But nasty stuff, nasty breaking ball, and so good for him. Congratulations to Max Scherzer. I think he was probably the player of the game for the Blue Jays because he went out there and he shut down a really good offense in the Seattle Mariners. So it was Scherzer. Luis Castillo started for the Mariners. He didn't have it. He ended up giving up 5 hits, 3 runs, got knocked out in the 3rd inning. So the game kind of went like this. Naylor hit one of the few bad pitches that Scherzer made. He kind of hung a changeup. Naylor hit it out early for a home run. But then Andres Jimenez, how about that? The little second baseman, terrific defender, pretty good little hitter. Not a lot of power, but all of a sudden he's got power. And he hit a 2-run homer that gave the Blue Jays the lead. They scored another run in the inning. That was the top of the 3rd, so they got a 3-1 lead. Springer in the 4th knocks in a run, and then a wild pitch, and now it's 5-1, and things are unraveling kind of quickly for the Seattle Mariners. They had a shot to get back in the game in the bottom of the 6th. Naylor was on first base to get an RBI single to make the score 5-2 with 2 outs. Now you got action, right? 5-2, 2 outs, and you would have had the tying run coming to the plate, but Naylor tries to go to 3rd, and Barger, the right fielder, throws him out, trying to go to 3rd for the 3rd out. That was a huge, huge mistake by Naylor and the Seattle Mariners, and that ended the inning. And like I said, you would have had the tying run coming to the plate. So a mistake that absolutely can't be made. That's one of those old baseball sayings that goes back many, 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 many years. Think about when you were a kid. Don't ever make the final out of the inning at 3rd base. And even more so, don't make the 2nd out of the inning at 3rd base. But anyways, big mistake. And who knows if it cost the Mariners, but it cost them an opportunity to continue the inning and maybe turn it into a bigger inning. we don't know whether that would have happened or not. But nonetheless, a mistake from a Mariners team that is generally pretty tight. They don't make a lot of mistakes, but that was a big one. And then Guerrero comes right back the next inning. He homers again. So they get that run right back. And then they tack on a couple late. And when it's all said and done, 8-2 is the final. Couple more home runs for the Blue Jays after hitting 5 last night. So they're starting to swing the bat again. And they're grinding the at bat. It's what they did during the regular season that made them so good. And we have seen it in the last 2 games. Yeah, the home runs are great, but if you watch the at-bats, they grind the at-bats. We even saw a couple sacrifice bunts. So they can do a lot of different things offensively, and that's what makes them a very good team. So, again, series tied at 2, and looking forward to the final 3 games. We're going to just sit back and see what happens. I thought it was interesting. The manager for the Blue Jays, John Schneider, came out with 2 outs and a man on in the bottom of the 5th. Scherzer was right at around 70 pitches. The score was 5-1, and Schneider came out, and I don't think he was going to take him out. I mean, he was in a good spot. Scherzer was throwing the ball great. Again, there was a guy on, there was 2 outs. But my thing was, it's like, well, if you're probably not going to take him out, this guy's been in the league for 17 years. I don't know what you can go out there and say to him. And Scherzer, it was a great shot where he kind of yelled like, no. But again, we don't know if he was thinking about taking him out or not. I'm convinced that was not the case, that he just maybe had a message for him. But to me, it's like, well, what's the message going to be to Max Scherzer? So, and it's funny, I'm watching kind of the post-game show, and they're showing that right now. And it was a quick meeting. I mean, Schneider was out there for maybe 5-6 seconds at the most. And they talked quickly, and they turned around and went back. So I don't know that Scherzer necessarily changed his mind. I don't think he was going to take him out at all. But I guess my thought was, why go out there at all? Scherzer's got this under control. He's if things start to unravel a little bit, then it's different. But it ends up Scherzer gets out of the inning, and he goes back out there and gets a couple more outs in the 6th inning. And then comes out of the game. But Scherzer is the big story tonight, and he deserves a ton of credit. So that's the deal with this ALCS. One interesting note from the Blue Jays, certainly hasn't slowed them down, but it came out before the game today. Their outfielder, Anthony Santander, was taken off the ALCS roster due to an injury. He's had a back that's been bothering some. And he has not had a very good year. But if you take somebody off the championship series roster, you can do that because of injury. But then they will not be allowed to be put back onto a World Series roster if you make that. So basically, Santander is done for the year. So the back injury must be significant enough. And it's been a strange year for this guy. Remember, he was really, really good with the Baltimore Orioles. He had 44 home runs last year. So he had the perfect year going into free agency, but he put together 3 really good years in Baltimore, 33 home runs, 28 home runs, 44 home runs. And he got a big free agent contract, over $90 million on a 5-year deal from the Toronto Blue Jays. And then he just could not get it going. He only played in 54 games. He had 6 home runs and 18 RBIs in the regular season. That's all. He was banged up. He was hurt early. And then the back injury has kind of come and gone this year. But anyway, so Santander he's done for the postseason, however long the Blue Jays go. And that includes not being able to be put back on a World Series roster if Toronto gets that far. So that's something that happened. I don't think it really is going to slow down the Blue Jays at all, simply because Santander did not play that much this year, and he really wasn't very productive. And one of the reasons for that certainly could have been some injuries. But so anyways, that's a little roster side note from the game today. So game 5 of this series will be tomorrow night. Gausman and Bryce Miller is the pitching matchup as of now. I don't think that'll change. So Gausman, the veteran, Miller, the youngster. Miller was great earlier in the series. We've seen Gosman. He's really, really good. So this has a chance to be a terrific pitching matchup. And I really like these two teams. I like watching them. Their offenses are good. They grind. They work hard with at bats. So it's an interesting matchup because they seem very, very evenly matched. Obviously, easy to say that because it's a 2-2 series, but I like both these teams. I like the way they play. So again, Game 5 tomorrow night with Gosman and Miller, and then whatever happens, they'll head back to Toronto for Game 6. And Game 6 would be Sunday. A Game 7 would be Monday. So that's where we are at with the American League Championship Series. The Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners all knotted up at 2. So that's the little recap from tonight's game. That was won 8-2 by Toronto. Now, let's shift gears and let's go to the National League Championship Series, which is a whole different ball game here. The Dodgers earlier today beat the Brewers by a final score of 3-1. So the Dodgers are now up 3-0. So they're going to get 2 more shots to wrap this up, a trip to the World Series in front of their home fans. Game 4 tomorrow, and then Game 5 on Saturday if necessary. But boy, the way things are going, it's just hard to picture the Brewers winning a game in this series. And that's really hard to say. This is a team that had the most wins in all of baseball, the Brewers. They had 97 wins this year, more than anybody. And you sit here and you watch this series, and you just realize how good the Dodgers are. And not only are they really good, but they're playing really well right now. I mean, we've seen really good teams not play well in the regular season. Sometimes we'll see a really good team not play well in the postseason and they get knocked out. But here you have the combination of talent, confidence, pedigree. These guys all know what it's like to be here, play in the postseason, and that mixed in with they're just in one of those stretches where they're just playing really, really good baseball, and they're doing it at the perfect time. And that's a monster that's tough to control. And the Brewers are finding that out. So today it was a 3-1 final. Glasnow against Ashby. Glasnow was really good. He goes pitched into the 6th inning. So what we have seen in this series, Snell, 8 innings in Game 1, no runs. Yamamoto, complete game, 1 run allowed in Game 2. And this afternoon, Glasnow gives up 3 hits and a run, 8 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. So that Dodgers starting pitching, which, it's the thing of all the teams left in this the postseason, the 4 teams, and we see them all. We're starting to get to know them really well. The group that stands out, and the group that I think is the biggest difference maker, is the starting pitching of the Dodgers. And that's why I think they're going to be super hard to beat. And for the Brewers, they started Ashby again, the lefty. That didn't work. It went triple, double, strikeout, walk, and then he was out. They bring in the Mizorowski, who pitches really well. I mean, the kid's super talented. But again, another starter, opener, for Milwaukee. So, they've done that a couple times now in this series, and it just shows they don't have starters after Peralta and maybe Priester compared to what the Dodgers are throwing out there, and it's just not working. I just don't see that being the answer here. I'm not a big fan of the opener. I never have been. And I don't like it in the postseason. If you want to go to your bullpen a little earlier, which teams generally do in the postseason, I get that. But I don't think the Brewers, they're doing this out of necessity. They're doing it because they don't have enough starting pitching at this point. So you got to figure out the best alternative to that. And for them, it's using an opener. But listen, it's not working. Yeah, Tommy Edman had a big hit today, kind of broke a 1-1 tie. And then the Uribe kid, good young pitcher for the Brewers. the infamous pickoff attempt that you throw away. I never understand that. Guys, this far off the bag, and you try a pickoff and you throw it down the right field line. Never understood that. You do a pickoff to keep a guy close and keep a base stealer from getting a good jump or getting a good lead. If the guy's not a base stealer, he's not going anywhere. He's got this far of a lead. Why are we throwing over there? It doesn't make any sense to me. It cost them a run, and that was the final, 3-1. And I think the thing that kind of has stood out to me in this series, and it's because of the Dodgers pitchers, but the Brewers have just been unable to do what they were able to do in the regular season. And I think they're finding out the difference. Not that they haven't been to the postseason. They were there last year too. I mean, they're there a lot in the last 7 or 8 years. But we haven't seen them do the small ball thing. They're a terrific base running team. They're aggressive. They're fundamentally sound. And we haven't seen much of that. And we haven't seen the aggressive base running because they haven't had a lot of base runners. So there's nothing they can do about that. And then you're behind in games and you got to be a little bit careful. So just frustration all around. And think about this, folks. Game 1 for Milwaukee, 1 run and 2 hits. Game 2 for Milwaukee, 1 run and 3 hits. Today, 1 run, 4 hits. So in this series, the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that scored the 3rd most runs in all of Major League Baseball this year, 3 runs on 9 hits for the entire series. That's how dominant the Dodgers pitching has been. And that's where, the frustration is there. But if you're in Milwaukee, you're also saying, man, these guys are really, really good. And one of the things I noticed today too, and you hear announcers talk about this a lot, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Is because it was a little bit of an odd start time in Los Angeles. You had the shadows. And this time of year, shadows are much more noteworthy. And you saw it right away in the first inning. And if the shadows are in between the pitcher's mound and home plate, that's a very, very difficult situation for a hitter. Because you can even watch it on TV. And I always wanted the TV show, the game to maybe a real slow-mo of the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand when the shadows are there. And you'll see the ball, it's bright, bright, bright. And as soon as it hits that shadows, it gets dark. Well, that's what the hitter sees. Now, think about that with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball coming in. It's a very significant thing for hitters, trust me. And I noticed it right away. The shadow was right near home plate. So you got about a half an inning, and then it's going to be an issue. And then that shadow just slowly moves and, from home plate toward the pitcher's mound. And the whole time, that's a major advantage for the pitcher. So next time you see that, and I don't know if you will, again, it's possible, but just watch it. If you see that shadow in between home plate and the pitcher's mound, just watch the pitcher throw the ball and how the ball, you see it, and then it gets dark. That's what a hitter sees. And sometimes if you don't see the spin as well, because a hitter can see a spin and then he knows that's some type of breaking ball. So major advantage in that game today for the pitchers, probably in the first 4 or 5 innings, because that shadow stayed there for quite some time. And that's just a thing that, it hurts both sides. It hurts the hitters for both sides. It doesn't necessarily favor anybody except the pitcher, but it doesn't favor any specific team. But just pay attention to that. If I think tomorrow there's an earlier game as well. It's just the specific start time. If it's mid-afternoon to late afternoon, you will see those shadows, and that becomes an issue for everybody. So anyways, that's where we're at with the National League Championship Series. Very, very one-sided. Dodgers win today 3-1. They're up 3-0 in the series. And game 4 tomorrow night, Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch. So again, these things are all lining up for the Dodgers. So now you got Ohtani for Game 4, well rested, and this is part of what I said about the difference with the Dodgers and their starters. For the Brewers, we don't know who's starting. At least I looked right before we came on the air, and I haven't seen anything. I'll even check for you right now just to see. No, TBD. So that's the thing. The Dodgers know exactly who they're going to start. They know who they're going to start if there's a Game 5, Game 6. They know who's going to start Game 1 of the World Series if they make it. But for Milwaukee, it's frustrating because they have to figure it out who's pitching, and that's tough. That makes it really tough. So that's the drill there, and boy, it just looks like it just looks like the Dodgers are they're obviously headed to the World Series, but it's hard to imagine, geez, the Brewers winning a game in this series. You hate to say that because it's a really, really good baseball team, and it's hard to win games in the big leagues. But there's been nothing in this series that has showed me that the Brewers have any shot, and that's too bad because they've had a terrific season. But you're dealing with a special roster that the Dodgers have. So, anyways, that's the rundown of the National League Championship Series. Before we continue on with the rest of our show, let's get our sponsors in, starting with Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based family-owned Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Call them at 925-209-8558. We're also brought to you by the Kehrig Real Estate Team. They've been doing business since 1978, helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service since 1978. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making that first family home purchase, trust the Kehrig Real Estate Team to guide you home. Call them at 925-548-4132. And we're also brought to you by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged on your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. All right, so let's get going to our next segment. And this is a kind of an interesting one. Let's I want to get us thinking about that. And then before my final segment, I want to get to some of the comments and answer some questions and see what the viewers think about the ALCS and the NLCS. But my question here is, as we've watched this postseason, we've all watched it closely. It's been entertaining. We've seen some really good baseball. But can anybody beat the Dodgers? I think at this point, with what we've seen, that's a very, very fair question. Okay. And the thing that jumps out at me is the Dodgers starting pitching depth. Okay. I've talked a lot about it. You guys are probably sick of hearing about it, but they have Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Ohtani. You need 7-game series. You need 4 starters. 3 of them are going to pitch twice if it goes the full 7. And in this case, it looks like Ohtani is the number 4 guy. That's pretty darn good. But let's remember this. And this could be part of the reason why these starters for the Dodgers have been so sharp. Remember at the beginning of the year, they were all banged up, right? Yamamoto was the only guy that was healthy. And they kind of just hung in there, started some younger kids. Even Kershaw was out. But then they got to the second half to the Dodgers, and they started to get healthy, okay? And even though, I looked this up, in July, August, and September, that 3-month stretch, the Dodgers were only 3 games over 500. They were 40-37 during that 3-month stretch, but they were slowly getting healthy. And they just had their eye was on the postseason. They wanted to make sure they were healthy at the postseason. So my point here is Blake Snell is at the top of his game. He's healthy and he's not tired. He threw 61 innings in the regular season. That's it. So he's fresh. He's fresh. He's healthy. He's not tired. That's a thing. I think that's absolutely a thing for the Dodgers. So the injuries at the beginning of the year are actually helping them now. Glasnow, same thing. His total innings for the regular season, 90, right? So he's not worn out. He's not sitting on 180 innings. He's fine. He's healthy, fresh, just like Snell. Tell me that doesn't help him right now. Ohtani, same thing. 47 innings pitched in the regular season for Ohtani. He's healthy now, and his arm's not tired. These guys are not tired, okay? Yamamoto is the only guy who pitched a full season, 173 innings. So that's a nice amount of innings, but it's not it's not like 200, okay? So, and he looks pretty fresh. But if you think about the fact that those three starters that I mentioned, Snell, Glasnow, and Ohtani, really only pitched the second half of the season, they're fresh, they feel good, their arm's not tired, their velocity's not down, they're snapping it. You know, when you get tired, when you get to 170, 80 innings, sometimes the stuff isn't quite as sharp, doesn't snap quite as well. But that is not the case. I think that is an advantage for the Dodgers right now. I really do. So I think my question then is this. Who has a better chance of beating the Dodgers coming from the ALCS? Is it Toronto or is it Seattle? Okay. Now, I mean, we could break this down 1,000 different ways, right? But who has, let's just look at this part of it. Whose lineup, because we're talking about the Dodgers starters who have been ridiculous, whose lineup do you think has a better chance against the Dodgers starters? I think that's probably maybe the first thing to think about and maybe the best thing to think about. Seattle, what do you think about their lineup against this Dodger pitching staff? Seattle has good power. They're third most home runs in Major League Baseball. They got a good power lineup. We all know Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez, but then you get Suarez and Naylor, and they have pretty darn good power. But they also have speed. They can steal some bases. They have the third most stolen bases in baseball, which I didn't even realize. I knew that they were working on and being better at that, but they stole a ton of bases. So it's a pretty good, well-rounded offense with good power. So what do you think about that lineup and what we've seen and kind of what we know about it against the Dodger starters compared to the Toronto Blue Jays lineup? Now, the Blue Jays, they don't hit as many home runs, but they had the best batting average in all of baseball this year. They had the best on-base percentage, and they had the second fewest strikeouts. So all that, and they still scored the fourth most runs. Now, this is all regular season numbers, and I understand things could change in the postseason, but their style is they grind at bats, they make good contact, they have some guys who can hit the ball in the ballpark, obviously, but that's their style. Make contact, put the ball in play, don't strike out. So that's what they do well. Seattle, a little bit more home run heavy, but again, pretty well-rounded, pretty deep lineup. I mentioned the power hitters, but you got a Rosarena, who's a very good player. Crawford's a very good player. So, there's a fair amount there. Polanco has been, a star in the postseason. So what do you guys think? Toronto lineup, Mariners lineup, a better chance against this Dodger pitching staff. So that's sort of my question to you as we do look ahead, and we're sort of anointing the Dodgers into the World Series. And remember, the World Series starts next Friday, the 24th. That is game one of the World Series. If the Dodgers were to win tomorrow, they would have a week off. That could be a thing. I don't know. That will be brought up. But again, the World Series a week from tomorrow night is game one. So, all right, I want to go to the comments before we wrap it up with our final segment. But I want to get some of the things I throw out there, and I want to hear what people are saying because I like the comments, and like I always do, I do my best to get to them. So let's do that. Bake That Dough, one of our loyal followers, always checking in almost 150 years of baseball, pitching, and throwing a little defense. Timely hitting is still the key to sustained success. Yeah, I mean that's about as accurate and simple as you can put it. And if you think about what you just said, the timely hitting thing, look at the Dodgers. And timely hitting it happens when you're on a roll, when you're a hot team. But again, so they got pitching. Their defense is pretty good. Max Muncy made a couple nice plays today, and they're getting one or two big hits a game. That's it. That's all you need. So yeah, the simple recipe for success, that was it. And we've witnessed the Dodgers doing it over and over and over. And what are they, 8-1 now in the postseason, I believe is the number. Yep, that's good stuff, Bake That Dough. Gary says Ohtani is so great of a hitter. I almost forgot that he pitches also. Exactly. That's why, I did a video on him about a week ago. That's why it's the greatest show. To me, it's the greatest show in Major League Baseball history. What we're seeing from him. I never said he was the greatest player of all time. I'm saying it's the greatest show. And nobody has ever done what he has done. And he's going to continue to do that. So it's a once in a lifetime show. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. He's pitching tomorrow in game 4 to try to clinch a trip to the World Series for the Dodgers. That's ridiculous if you think about it. But yep, that is exactly right. All right, Bake That Dough checking in says that's the key. You must beat the Dodgers because they will not make costly mistakes and beat themselves. And that's pretty fair. Patrick says, Glenn, what's your email? I got to send you a hilarious video of your brother and Kruk from years back. Okay, hold on. I got it here somewhere. I got it. Email is glenkuiperbaseball@gmail.com, Patrick. That's Glen Kuiper Baseball, all one word, @gmail.com. No nasty emails, anybody, okay? Come on, we're all friends here. If Bichette can come back, yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen. I think he's been working out a little bit, but I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about him coming back. So they may have to try to do this thing without one of their better players. Unless I'm missing something, and maybe I am, but I have not heard a whole lot about that. But you think about that, that's one of the better all-around players in the game, and Toronto's without him. You almost forget about that. But then the guys who are playing the middle infield, Ernie Clement has done a nice job, right? Ernie Clement, who knew? But that's the sign of a good team. Plug another guy in. But there's no question that having Bichette there would make a difference. But I just have not heard a whole lot about that. So Momo says Blue Jays offense is just ferocious. I don't think Dodgers played a team like the Blue Jays. Well, I think that's – I don't know that the Dodgers – let's not forget, Momo, that they did just dismantle the Phillies in the Phillies ballpark. And that's a pretty darn good lineup too. So I think they've seen their share of good lineups, but they don't care because they're pitching so good. But the Blue Jays offense is good. I like it just because they put the ball in play, and they do the little things that we want the Giants to do more of, and it works. It works as long as you got a couple guys that can do damage, and the Blue Jays have that. So, anyways, that's good stuff. Good comments from you guys. Just want to make sure I didn't miss any. Okay. Oh, hold on. All right, I want to read this one. Gary says, based on what we have seen in this postseason, I have a difficult time believing that whoever survives this ALCS is going to defeat LA, who looks to be in full-scale championship mode right now. And I would say, Gary, that you are very accurate. I kind of feel the same way. It's hard to feel that way because none of us have a big liking of the Dodgers, but you have to respect how good they are. And I respect that they are so they just nothing's going to bother them, right? And I think that's a very, very fair statement, and I would tend to agree with that. So Bake That Dough says, hey, like the new intro song. Yeah, I tried to mellow it down a little bit. I thought the initial one I thought was a little out of my character. So I wanted to just mellow it down a little bit. I'm a little bit of a soft rocker. I know that's not everybody's special taste, but that's mine. So I tried to just back her down a little bit. So Bake That Dough. If you like it, you know what? That's all I need to know. So, all right, good comments. I appreciate that, everybody. And I want to finish with this. I find this to be interesting. Hold on. I didn't add that. Anyways, so what I'm talking about is something interesting with the Detroit Tigers. I'm just trying to get rid of some stuff here. Sorry, folks. Anyways, okay. See if we can get rid of. I'm not trying to just get rid of you, Bake That Dough, like ditch you. But all right, there we go. Okay, now the Detroit Tigers have an interesting situation coming up, and I've been reading a little bit about it. Hold on, trying to get this on there. Okay, there it is. Sorry about that, folks. So, Kehrig Skubal, right? We all know about him. We've seen him. Tigers ace, terrific pitcher, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, right? I mean, he's in the top 3 or 4. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's a free agent after 2026. Okay. These are the rumors. These are the reports on social media. So we take all that with a grain of salt, but this is this is going to be a thing, an issue for the Tigers. Supposedly, last offseason, the Tigers made an offer, a contract offer to Kehrig Skubal, somewhere in the $170 million range. Okay. So now the reports that we're getting are that they're talking a little bit about a contract extension, but the gap between the Tigers and Skubal's representatives, and again, these are rumors, but the gap in money is a $250 million gap between what Skubal wants and what the Tigers have offered. Again, that offer was made last year. So we don't know exactly how accurate these numbers are, but I don't think there's any question that there's something going on here with the Tigers and Skubal trying to get something done, but also realizing that this is going to be very, very difficult to do for the Tigers. Okay. So let's look at Skubal, and let's look at some other contracts that have been given out in the last 4, 5, 7 years, whatever, to pitchers. Okay. And try to come to a conclusion of where if he were to get a new contract, where would it land financially? Okay. So he's 28 years old. So right in the prime of his career. They always talk about the prime, 25, 26 years old to 31, 32. He'll be 29 in November. He's been healthy, and he's a number 1 ace as much as anybody is. So 28 years old, he'll pitch next year at the age of 29. Here's the biggest contracts ever given to a pitcher, guaranteed money-wise, okay? Yamamoto, 2 years ago with the Dodgers, was 25 years old when he signed a 12-year, $325 million contract. So we're talking about these are the biggest contracts for pitchers. When I say biggest, I mean most guaranteed money. Okay. So Yamamoto got a 12-year, $325 million contract. That is the highest guaranteed money ever given to a pitcher. He signed it when he was 25. So Skubal will be 29 in November. So maybe not a 12-year deal. Okay. Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is in the middle of a 9-year, $324 million contract. So $324 million is the guaranteed money. When he signed that contract, and again, he's been with the Yankees for a while now, so he's toward the middle of that contract. But when he signed it, he was 29 years old. That's Skubal's age next month. So is that a parameter for a Skubal contract? What Garrett Cole got at the same age. And Garrett Cole had pretty good success before signing that big free agent contract with the Yankees. Remember, he started with the Pirates, was very good, and then he was really good in Houston for a couple of years. So I think Cole, if you look at his career up until he signed that big contract, I would say he had more good years than Skubal, but Skubal has just been completely dominant the last 2 years, right? He finally got a spot. He figured some things out, got a spot in the rotation. I mean, I remember when I was doing A's games, I remember Skubal pitching for the Tigers as a rookie. And he had really good stuff, but he was spraying it a little bit. And, you know, you could tell that there was a lot there to work with, but he was just an average to average pitcher. I mean, he wasn't anything great the first 2 or 3 years. But I do remember him, you know, as a young guy, as a rookie, big, hard thrower. But, you know, it was a lot of pitches after 4 innings, but he obviously has figured it out. So maybe the Garrett Cole contract, 9 years, $324 million. That's what Cole got at the same age as Skubal. Remember Steven Strasburg? Which is, you know, that contract obviously has not turned out great, but that's not what we're talking about. Strasburg, at the age of 31 in 2019, he signed a 7-year, $245 million contract. 7 years, $245. He was 31 years old, so a couple years older than Skubal. And of course, that contract went bad. He retired after 3 years of the 7-year deal, and he was injured, and it did not go well. But so where do you think? Where are we talking here? Some parameters for a Skubal contract. I'm going to probably go to the Garrett Cole one. A 9-year deal for Skubal. I know that's too much for a pitcher. We all know that. You know, a 15-year deal is too much for a position player, but that's the way it is, right? You're gonna get screwed at the end in these long contracts. That's just the way it is. It's almost like you're paying a tax, right? So, you know, I mean, could Skubal, if he became a free agent, would he get a 9-year, $300 million deal or an 8-year, $300 million deal? I think he would as a free agent. I do. Don't you? Don't you think he would? I mean, a free agent after next year. So that means his first year with a different team, if he signed, he would be 30 years old. So here's the Tigers' dilemma. Okay. Baseball is back in Detroit. And I went to Detroit for a lot of years to do games with the A's, and they had some bad teams. And then they had a good stretch with Verlander, and they went to the World Series. But since then, it's been a struggle. But it's back, and Detroit's a good baseball town, and now it's back. They've been to the postseason 2 years in a row. Crowds are coming back. People are talking about the Tigers, right? The attendance for Tiger games this year went up 555,000 people. Think about that. That's over 500,000 people more coming through the turnstiles at Comerica Park this year. In the last 2 years, the attendance has gone up 800,000. 800,000 in the last 2 years. That's a huge, huge increase. Okay. So that's the point. You don't want to lose any momentum if you're the Tigers organization. The fans are back. They like this team. It's a gritty, fun team. And they got their anchor guy, and he's a pitcher, and everybody loves him. He's Kehrig Skubal. He's the face of the Tigers. So there is your dilemma if you're the Tigers. Do you ante up and give him a $300 million contract at the age of 29 to keep him there, hoping that he will be good for 6-7 more years, and then you got to eat it at the end? That's the way it works. Or do you let him walk in free agency after 2026? Then you don't get anything for him. The last option then is, do you put him on the trading block? I don't know what I would do. It's one of those things where you got this great pitcher, but at some point it's going to come to a head. And that's where the Tigers are now. Is it do you dish out $300 million? Do you take the chance of letting him go in free agency? Or do you trade him, which would cause an uproar? Because no matter who you get back, and you could probably set him out there, and there would be some really, really nice offers. Teams would make some nice offers. Maybe the Giants would make a nice offer for Kehrig Skubal. Even though they'd only have him for 1 year, maybe they think, hey, we can try to pay this guy. We got the money, we can do it. I don't know. It's possible. But if you Tigers and you do that, you lose some of the mojo. Even if you got a good package of players back, you would lose some of that mojo the Tigers have built with their fans over the last 2 years. I don't know what the Tigers should do. I don't. But it's going to be one of those sidebar baseball stories to watch maybe this offseason. I don't know. It's the Skubal decision for the Tigers. Keep an eye on it. Let's see what they do. So before we end the show, I'll check back with the comments, see if anybody has some Skubal ideas. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Gary says they need to sign Schwarber and Realmuto and or Suarez, and they have to get more out of Harper and Turner in the postseason. So they're talking about the Phillies. Yeah, that would be fair. Gary also says, that is always a danger for pitchers. The thoracic outlet syndrome, that's what Zach Wheeler has. Injuries are always the injury thing. It is what it is, right? You just you're always going to worry about injuries with pitchers in a long-term deal. I mean, look at Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole, terrific pitcher, and he's been really good with the Yankees. You could make the point that he has lived up to his contract. But the point is you almost have to say at some point they may get injured, and you may lose them for a year. It happens to a lot of pitchers. But that's the scary thing. That's the chance you take, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, because it is such a delicate situation for the Tigers. So keep an eye on what they're doing. So, all right, that's it for the show tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're enjoying the postseason. We will be back with another show on Monday night. Okay, Monday night, and at that point, we're going to see, is the World Series set? Who knows? But we'll talk about that. We'll also have a fun NFL segment because the 49ers will have played Sunday night. We'll talk about that. We'll also check in on what's going on in the NFL. Is anybody going to jump out and become the team? Because it doesn't look like that's happening so far. So we'll talk about that. And then next Wednesday, we'll have our official World Series preview because the World Series starts next Friday night. So anyways, that's the deal there. Let me get to the sponsors and make sure that we do that because that's very important. Tilden Properties is one of our best sponsors. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends, equity buildup in the real estate market. They've been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008, and they are always, trust me, they're always looking for big-time investors. You can be one of them. Go to their website, tildenproperties.com, and check out their portfolio, and also call them at 925-209-8558. We're brought to you by the Kehrig Real Estate Team. Since 1978, they've been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area. These are good people. They work hard, and they do a great job. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making your first purchase, trust the Kehrig Real Estate Team. Contact Mike Kehrig today at 925-548-4132 for a free home sale or purchase consultation. And we're also brought to you by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged on your property insurance? It has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. That's Valone Insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance. 925-433-8271. All right, that's it for tonight's show, everybody. We got some new videos coming out on the channel, on the YouTube channel, so check that out. They'll be coming out tomorrow. Interesting stuff, as always. We got an NFL injuries video coming out. We got Blake Smell, Logan Webb video coming out, so check it out. Get to the website, get to the YouTube channel, The Glen Kuiper Show, and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and view some of the good stuff we have there. But hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to enjoy the weekend, a weekend of football and postseason baseball, and I'll see you back here on Monday night for the next edition of The Glen Kuiper Show. Thanks for joining me, everybody.